Hello friends, in this video tutorial, we will show you how to update or edit existing MySQL table data in Node.js Express application using Ajax. In previous part, we have already shown you how to insert data into MySQL table in Node.js application by using Ajax and Bootstrap model. Now we have proceed for how to update or edit MySQL table data in Node.js application using Ajax and build Single Page CRUD application in Node.js using Ajax. Now for edit or update MySQL data, first we have to create edit button in each row of data. So for this, we have to open sample data template view file and goes into JavaScript code part. And here, we want to create edit button. So for this, here we have to write button tag with type is equal to button and class attribute is equal to button warning, button small and edit class, and this edit class we will use for capture click event for single row of data from MySQL table. After this, we have to write data id attribute is equal to data.data with count index.id. So here, we have store primary key value under this tag. And in button text, we have to write edit. So here our dynamic edit button is ready. And it will create dynamic edit button in each of data. So when we have click on any row of edit button, then row data must be fetched from MySQL table and display in pop-up modal. So for this, here we have to write $with document selector with on function with 3 parameter. In first parameter, we have to write click event. In second parameter, we have to write edit button class edit, and in last parameter, we have to write callback function. So when we have click on the edit button, then it will execute if block of code. And under this, first we want to get data id attribute value. So for this, here we have to write id variable is equal to $the selector with data function, and under this, we have to write id. So this code will fetch data id attribute value and store under this id variable. After this, we want to change Bootstrap modal header title. So for this, here we have to write with header 5 tag id attribute value, dynamic modal title with text function. And under this function, we have to write edit data, so it will change Bootstrap modal title. After this, we want to change hidden field value. So for this, here we have to write and in selector, we have to write input hidden field id action with value function. And under this, we have to write edit, so it will change hidden field value. Next we want to change submit button value. So for this, here we have to write with submit button id action button with text function, and under this function, we have to write edit, so it will change submit button text. After this, we want to pop up modal on web page. So for this, here we have to write with modal id action modal with modal function, and under this function, we have to write show, so it will pop up modal on web page. Now we have to create Ajax request for fetch single row of data from MySQL table. So in Ajax first option, we have to write URL, and under this option, we have to write node application base URL /roots file name /active root. So it will send Ajax request to this URL. In second option, we have to write method, and here we have use post method. In third option, we have to write data, so here we can define data, which we want to send with Ajax request. So here we have to write id variable, and action variable with fetch single is value, has been to send with Ajax request. In fourth option, we have to write data type, which is set to JSON, so it will receive data in JSON format. And lastly, in Ajax option, we have to write success callback function. So this function will be called if Ajax request has been completed. And it will receive data from server, which we can get from this data variable. And under this function, we have to write with text box id first name. And after this, we have to write value function, and under this function, we have to write data.firstName, so it will fill first name text box with data. After this, for fill last name text box with data, so here we have to write $with text box id last name. And after this, we have to write value function, and under this function, we have to write data.last name, so it will fill last name text box with data. Next, for set gender select box with option data, so here we have to write $with select box id gender. And after this, we have to write value function, and under this function, we have to write data.gender, so it will select gender select box option. Same way, for fill age text box with data, so here we have to write $with text box id age. And after this, we have to write value function, and under this function, we have to write data.age, so it will fill age text box with data. And lastly, we want to assign value to hidden id field. So here we have to write $with hidden field id value, which is id. And after this, we have to write value function, and under this function, we have to write data.id, so it will assign value to hidden field. So here our jQuery code is ready. Now we have to go to sample data.js roots file. And here we have go to action root, and under this, we have to write if statement, and under condition, we have to write action variable is equal to fetch single. So if this condition true, then it will execute if block of code. Under this block, first we want to get id variable data, so here we have to write id variable is equal to request.body.id variable, so here we have store data in local variable. After this, we have to write query variable is equal to select star from sample data table, where id table column value is equal to $with open and close bracket. And between this, we have to write id variable, so this query will fetch single row of data. Now we want to execute this query, so here we have to write database variable.query function with two parameter. In first parameter, we have to write query variable in which we have store select query. And in second parameter, we have to write callback function with two parameter like error and data variable. So this function will return MySQL data, which we can get from this data variable. Now we want to send this data to Ajax request in JSON format, so for this, here we have to write response.json function, and under this function, we have to write data with 0 index, so it will send data to Ajax request in JSON format. Now we have go to command prompt, and go into directory, in which we have create our Node.js Ajax CRUD application. And here we have to run this command, so this command will start Node.js server. Now here in browser, we have to write base URL of Node.js application /sample data. So here on web page, we can see that MySQL data has been displayed on web page in HTML table format. And here, in each row of data, we can see that edit button has been created. Now we have to click on edit button, so after click on edit button, here we can see that modal has been pop up on the web page, and under modal, we can see that form has been filled with data, so here we can edit or change data. And by click on this edit submit button, data will be sent to server for edit data operation. Now for edit data operation, we have go to sample data template file. And here, we can see that we have already write jQuery code for submit form data. So we have go to sample data.js file, and here we have go to action root code. And here we have to write if block of code, and under condition, we have to write action variable value is equal to edit, so if this condition true, then it will execute if block of code. And under this block, first we want to store form data into local variable. So first we want to store hidden id field data, so for this, here we have to write id variable is equal to request.body.id hidden field name. After this, we want to store first name text box data into local variable. So here we have to write first name variable is equal to request.body.firstname input field name. Next we want to store last name text box data into local variable. So for this, here we have to write last name variable is equal to request.body.lastname input field name. Same way, we want to store gender select box selected option value in local variable. So for this, here we have to write gender variable is equal to request.body.gender select box name. And lastly, we want to store age text box field data into local variable. So for this, here we have to write age variable is equal to request.body.age input field name. So here, we have stored all form field data in local variable. Now we have to write update data MySQL query. So for this, here we have to write query variable is equal to update sample data table. Set first name is equal to $, with open and close bracket with first name variable. Last name is equal to $, open and close bracket with last name variable. Age is equal to $, open and close bracket with age variable. Gender is equal to $, with open and close bracket with gender variable. And in where condition, we have to write it is equal to $, with open and close bracket with it. So this update query will update MySQL table column data. Now we need to execute above query. So for this, here we have to write database.query function with two parameter. So this function will execute above query. In first parameter, we have to write query variable. And in second argument, we have to write callback function with error and data variable. So if data successfully updated, then it will send response to Ajax request in JSON format. So here we have to write response.json function, and under this function, we have to write message key, and in value, we have to write success message like data edited. So it will send this data to Ajax request in JSON format. So here our code is ready. Now we have check output in the browser. So first we have go to command prompt. And first we have stop this process, and after this, we have again start Node.js server by run following command. Friends, here we have refreshed this web page, and here we can see that MySQL table data has been displayed on web page with edit button. And now we want to edit this row of data. So we have click on the edit button, and after click on the edit button, here we can see that modal has been pop up with filled form data. So now we have change age details, and after change age field details, here we have click on the edit button, and after click on the edit button, here we can see that modal has been removed from web page, and here we can see success message. And in HTML table, here we can see that age data has been updated. That means data has been updated in MySQL table in Node.js application using Ajax. So in this part, we have learned how to edit or update MySQL data by using Node.js application with Ajax jQuery and Bootstrap modal. In next part, we will learn how to delete data from MySQL table in Node.js application by using Ajax. So we will be meet in next part.